Hello, Mom, Dad, David, everybody in Ashburnham. It is Sunday morning right now. I think maybe you can hear the rain on the roof. I think we don't notice the rain anymore. It rains quite a bit. In fact, I think we notice it more when it doesn't rain, because then we don't have water to take showers with or to drink. We have to walk down to the stream. When we have enough rain, the rain falls off from water catchments on our roof into barrels, and we use this water to bathe, to pour down our water-sealed toilet, which is quite a luxury. Believe me, for a long time we didn't have a water-sealed toilet, and I had quite a few problems with flies and this sort of thing. So that right now it is raining. I think it'll rain all day. It often does this, will rain all day or rain all night. There's always a wind before it rains, so you know it's going to do this, and the chickens go up in the trees. There's sort of scrawny chickens all over the island that get this and that from the ground and from what's left, and they're on ample warning of when it's going to rain. We've gotten to the point where we do put on raincoats if we know it's going to rain, but if it rains and we get wet, well, it's of no matter. It doesn't seem to bother anybody else. We were learning about the Marianas the other day, and that the first and often second child that a couple has are raised by the grandparents, and that other children might be given to an aunt or uncle, or we might even, if we wanted a child, be given one to raise and take care of. The family is much larger than our sense of family. Our sense of family is probably just parents and brothers and sisters, but sense of family here includes cousins and everybody, so that the babies are really just sort of taken care of by everyone, and then the older children run around and live here and sleep there, and there are people moving in and out of the house that our family next to us lives in. Regular interviews, it takes a long time to get straight exactly which children belong to which parents, exactly who goes together, even exactly which husband and wife go together, because the husband and wife don't do things together in public. The women go out and bathe, the women go to do something, and the men go to do something. This has been very interesting. They think it's very strange that Greg and I walk together, go to classes together, although they're used to this. There's absolutely no public show of affection of any nature. We were living with two Yap couples at one point. Yap couples meaning couples that were going to go to Yap. We are a Mariana couple. Both of these couples decided they did not want to stay here for many reasons and have gone back to the United States. This was a very bad week for us, I can say that, living with two couples that were leaving and talking about things in the States. We certainly every once in a while remember what food tastes like and what a bed feels like, and wouldn't it be nice to do this? Although we're very happy in our own situation and everyone's in it together, and it is what we want. We were very sorry to see both these couples go, as we had grown fond of them. We're hoping that they will write to us and tell us how they're doing. They were both scheduled to go to Yap, which is the most traditional of all the island groups. I think it has to be realized right away that Micronesia is a very large area, and it is divided into 6 different districts. And as far as the districts in Micronesia are concerned, there isn't Micronesia. I've gotten the feeling that Micronesia is a term made up by the United States, or made up by somebody. The people here in Truk are Truckees, and they are not aware of the other islands in the Micronesia group. I was talking to our Truckees family, and they were not really aware that Ponape or the Marshalls really existed even. This is one of the problems in uniting this area and getting it to work well, is that these are just separate districts. It would be like telling Italy and Germany and France and England that they were going to be made into one nation, where I'm sure France feels no ties with England at all. And there are even, of course, feelings of hate between island groups. Many of the people that are out here, of course, have never taught before and are finding that they really like teaching or they really don't like teaching. The children here are charming. They just win you over immediately. I don't know how... I think even if you possibly didn't like teaching, you could like the children so much that you like teaching. They are beautiful children, I think that can be said with very little reservation. And they are eager and playful and fun-loving. We've had them in our house drawing pictures and playing games, teaching them things. They're very anxious to learn. I was mentioning that they spend their days... There's nothing organized for the children to do, and there's really nothing to do. I mean, they live on the island, and they run around and play all day. So the school is actually a very welcome diversion. Organized play is a welcome diversion. They like this. They like learning games and things that they've never known. Playing, for example, even catch with a small coconut is sort of exciting. They don't really know how to catch anything. They're not very coordinated as far as being able to do exercises. Just it's part of our physical fitness program here. We've been doing a lot of swimming, but we've also been having physical fitness tests. And the children just love to imitate us, doing sit-ups and running. And I mean, this is great fun, and they even have trouble coordinating themselves to do this. A lot of the babies die in this area and all over Micronesia. A lot of the diseases that the older people and the older children sort of get used to, maybe dysentery and worms and such, a baby just cannot handle. We've noticed a baby next door to us is sick, cries a lot, has diarrhea, and just doesn't look healthy, and chances are the baby will die. We were talking to one couple who were on an island in the Mortlocks, which are the outer islands in Truk, and the girl did a survey of the island to see how many of the people had children die, and all but 2 had. So it's and many more than one child. This isn't particularly in childbirth, but in these diseases which we see so easily could be alleviated. The flies, I think, are the most dangerous animal here. I think I might mention now there really just aren't any dangerous animals, nothing to be afraid of. If I go out to the Benjo at night, I'm not the least bit afraid of finding a snake or anything. There just aren't any snakes. What we do have here, we've gotten used to, and we sort of like. We have a few spiders that live in our house and in our room, and they're pretty good-sized spiders, but we feel that they eat the ants and flies. And, if we come into the room and there are a few on the floor, they just scurry out of the way. There's a darling little lizard called a greco that it's just a small lizard. I would say it's about 3 or 4 inches long. And they eat the flies. We have 2 or 3 grecos living. I don't know exactly where they live, but they're on our window all the time, and they catch the flies, and they also scurry out of sight if they're approached. The cockroaches, I can't say we like at all. I never knew cockroaches could fly before, and we found them all through our suitcases and things. They don't really appeal to us, but there just isn't really much as dangerous as a fish that you can step on and such. But not much. So the only real problem out here is this disease, which is really very, very bad. I think most everybody here has diseases which make them die young or make them unhappy. A lot of people evidently have tuberculosis, and a lot of this is spread by flies and things that if eventually, through health workers and people being out here, if we can just get people to use some sort of facility when they have to go to the bathroom, to cover their food, to wash their hands. Very simple things which they don't do and which see no reason for doing actually. It's a long, slow process. You asked about the Peace Corps being here, and I think I wrote back, this was constantly a question in our mind. We had one speaker who said something very interesting in that this question of whether the United States should be here, whether the United States should be changing Micronesia. And he said that it wasn't that anyone was changing Micronesia, it was more that we were here to help the Micronesians adjust to change, a change that's already happened. Planes that fly over, I mean, they just, and you see this when you're here, that this change is already here, it is already happening, and the people do need help in adjusting to it. The values are very different. I don't think Greg went into values very much, and I think I can go into them a little bit here. In the States, we live very much planning for the future. We're not to save money for the sake of saving it, or just think about what we're going to do in the future. There isn't any of this here at all. People, when an emergency comes, people take care of it. There's no planning, no saving. If you need fish, you go out fishing. If you need something to drink, you climb a coconut tree. If you need something to eat, you might go pull taro, but you won't go plant anything because you might need something to eat later. This isn't the way one would think. Another difference that has to do with what I've just been saying and with everybody being related is an idea of what's yours is mine and what's mine's yours. This is hard, I think, for us to get used to. And in the States, there is this feeling of individual ownership. And here, I know many of the trainees and volunteers, well, trainees exactly, have been surprised at stuff being stolen, stuff being taken from their rooms. And yet it isn't being stolen or taken in the Micronesian sense. If I have 2 pens, I don't need 2 pens. They just take one. If they need something right then, they take it. And maybe it's borrowing it and not returning it. But this is hard to get used to, particularly, I think, when when you've never experienced this before. And there is a kind of return. I mean, if I need something, I can go take it too. But the problem is, we were talking with one boy last night, he was telling us about this in Saipan, and he said the problem was that he just couldn't go take something that belonged to somebody, so that he would end up buying maybe 6 or 7 combs a month and umpteen razor blades and little things, just little things, hairpins, all sorts of things that you might suddenly miss half of or a quarter of. Here again, it's a problem for us because some of the stuff that we brought out here we can't get, and we want to keep. Of course, some things to have sentimental value in a sense, I suppose. Just things we brought from the States we would like to keep. Other things are more important. There is this idea of sharing. I've given a lot of things away to people here. I spent what time I had playing with them and such, and this is part of the natural culture. You've got plenty of food. I don't have enough food, so you share, and everyone's related anyway. And I don't know. You have to sort of experience it to understand. It's certainly making me a much more generous person. It's just very natural, and it is a give and take. I mean, as a result, every morning there's usually a ring of flowers for me to wear in my hair. Everyone wears these flowers that the children or women or somebody will make into I guess it's called a garland. I don't know, a ring of flowers for your hair. And I usually have these to wear every day, which is very pleasant. The flowers smell very sweet. when we want a coconut or a banana or something, it's there. And this will be, I think, true when we get to Saipan. We were talking with some people. We have people that come every day just about for area studies, but all sorts of different people to talk to us about Saipan and about the Marianas. So we really have a pretty good picture. And we heard a tape from a couple that is in Saipan, some rodeo or Tinian, I'm not sure exactly where, but they were saying that if they wanted vegetables, they could just mention it and they would arrive. And yet, if there were some people that they've been talking with that wanted vegetables and just couldn't get them, because of course the farm is just plant enough for them for a subsistence living. There's none of this idea of planting a little bit more than you need and selling it. So that although everything can be grown here, all the land belongs to somebody. I mean, I couldn't go out and plant a garden without permission from somebody somehow. But if the people didn't want to give me a banana or a coconut or anything like this, I just wouldn't get it. So there is this kind of sharing is a necessary part of, I suppose, the economy in a way, too. I mean, everyone shares what they've got. It does create problems when the Western world comes in and says, okay, you drive my boat and I'll pay you $5 a day. So one person in the family is working and earning $5, but it isn't his $5. He doesn't get anything as a result of it. It belongs to everybody. Cousin, sixth cousin, seventh cousin, everybody. One experience we've just been through is mid-boards. All Peace Corps programs have a time during training called mid-boards and finals, in which you are evaluated and you get feedback, which is a term used here. This has been going on. All the different facets in which you work are evaluated and discussed. Our TESL made a report on us, area studies, physical education. They have peer group ratings in which everyone was given 10 qualities which were explained and described, and they were supposed to put down the 5 people they felt that had these qualities, this particular quality the most, and 5 people that had it the least, and give a little bit of reasons and explanations. And then the staff and people from Washington and all sorts of people evaluate these and more or less decide whether or not you should remain. Nobody from this program was deselected at mid-boards. I will say quite a few people have left. I think 25% have left, 20% have left. I'm not too sure. I think that's about, I don't really know how many have left of their own choice. And I think many times these programs work out that a person leaves of their own choice, and the Peace Corps is happy to see them go. I think it's sort of a mutual thing. You certainly would know, I think, if you were unhappy here and not working well. And you would I think it's only people that try to possibly fool themselves and stay for some extraneous reason when they are not really happy and not really doing a good job. Our mid-boards were favorable, I think. Dr. Weiss said that there was no question, but that they felt that we could definitely be an asset to the Peace Corps and in the Marianas, and that we definitely should stay. There was no question in anybody's mind but that we could do a good job. And this is very nice to hear. You have a lot of doubts as you're going through this training program. You have a lot of questions and you have a lot of ideas, and you can't really decide, and we probably won't know why we're here till we leave. We may never know why we're here. But I really feel excited. I really feel that we're really going to do something. It's kind of frightening in a way because you can do the wrong kind of thing too. We had a case in language class where the class started to laugh at something, and we weren't, and the teacher thought we were laughing at her. which we weren't. We weren't in the least bit laughing at her. And she got upset and started to cry, and we felt very badly. But it really taught us a lesson. A lot of the teaching here is, as we mumble along, sort of confused. It's, well, now you've done that, you won't do it again, will you? It's learn by your mistakes. We'll guide you and try to help you not to make them, but you have to make a certain amount of mistakes to learn by them. I think probably the reason for this attitude is that everyone here has learned by mistakes. Everyone, they just can't teach you everything. They can give you an understanding and help you to get along, but you have to depend on yourself. And I think that's one of the reasons that the Peace Corps exists, and that people are in the Peace Corps, is that you do have to depend on yourself, and it's a great big challenge to really do it on your own and to figure it out. Really, just about, there are so many top Peace Corps people here that there's probably, we wonder what's going on in the States, and how much we hear so much, about the possibility of Micronesia being a state and so, this sort of thing. We know that the United States knows very little about Micronesia. I mean, by United States, I mean the people in the United States. And this idea sort of amuses us. And yet, I think the people in Washington, if they are using us as a propaganda type of thing, even realize this, that if the Peace Corps is here and they write their congressmen or write their families or go back home, that slowly the United States is going to become aware of Micronesia in one way or another. Another idea that comes to me right now is, I know Greg mentioned the tape to his parents about things we brought and how they seem. I think we could have done a better job. I've had some problems with clothes, and that all the dresses need to be below the knee, and all my dresses aren't below the knee. And I should have brought a lot of muumuu kind of things that when I sat down I would be able to put out over my legs. I really haven't had a chance to have anything made yet at all. It's kind of hard to get, well, it's kind of hard at the beginning to get material. There's a lot of things like this that I think, I wish we'd brought a lot of things I wish that we had brought, but Greg was mentioning, I don't think on either tapes we told you anything much about our classes, which we plan to do, which of course are a major part of our day. Language class consists of 4 or 5 hours a day, usually broken up with 2 hours in the morning from 7 until 9, and then one from, past week from 7 to 9. Well, you have the schedule, 7 to 9, 11 to 12, 2 to 3, and 5 to 6. And this is a lot of memorization of dialogues, a lot of repetition and repeat all the time. I'll say the first dialogue for you, just in case you'd like to hear what the Chamorro language sounds like. I'm basically saying, good morning, how are you, what's your name? And I'll be answering my own questions. Hapaday, hapalai, hapadatu manohau, mali todu shahagu, namoli kolokwi, hajinanmo, suwan, susetsu. That's, it's a kind of a musical language, I think. If you were interested, Greg and I could probably speak a little more of it, maybe on some other tape. So we memorize these dialogues through repetition and substitution and work of this nature. I think it's a fairly effective way to learn a language. You really have to pay attention. Sometimes it's hard if you're not feeling well, but it works out okay in the end. Some of the teachers are good, and some of them aren't. I suppose it goes the same all over. Recreation, PE, is basically swimming. Taught us life-saving and how to swim and this sort of thing. We've also learned children's games and how to teach a song. And it's really been quite educational and quite good. I guess with the first program to have the fifth Micronesian program to really have swimming, which of course is essential out here. I'm really missing a great deal if you can't swim. I'm enjoying the idea of getting used to skin diving, which is quite exciting. We have health classes, which have been very interesting. Doctors telling us about diseases that you find out here, how to treat things yourself, just all different types of situations and cases. I really haven't known much about diseases, and it was very interesting to learn about dysentery and things of this nature. We also have area studies and community development, which is mostly of speakers coming to talk to us in various different aspects of Saipan, businessmen and people who just live there, and people who know about it, anthropologists, sociologists, all sorts of people. This has been very interesting because some of the speakers are dull and some of them aren't. We've also had time to read booklets and books that are available in the library, although this is a problem with daylight hours. You just can't read at night. You can read at night, but it really hurts your eyes after a while with just a lantern or a candle. Community development, we're supposed to be working on a project in the community. Greg's been working on fixing the dispensary to putting screens over the windows and making a partition, so there's a little bit of privacy in the dispensary. I've been working on the Girl Scout troop. This has been quite interesting. TESL takes up 3 or 4 hours of our afternoon. We usually have a class in which we are told something about, possibly the one class might tell us about the Miami linguistic readers, which we'll be using. We might see a movie. There's quite a bit of material available in the States on teaching English as a second language. A lot of research has been done in California and in Florida. This is basically the TESL program is in the States, too. It's nothing unique to Micronesia. You may even know about it. There's a program in California that's quite interesting. So we're learning the methods of teaching English as a second language. We've quite a few movies. They have a little generator here to run the movies with. And then we watch for people teaching. They set up a demonstration class, and we watched classes being taught, and then after we watched a class being taught, we were given the opportunity to teach a class ourselves. I think this is, and not a whole class, but just teach one thing. You might teach a song, or you might teach a little bit of reading, or a part of an exercise, or you might do a minimal pair drill or something. Minimal pair being something like pat and bat. Tomorrows wouldn't be able to hear the difference in the sounds between the but and the pa. And so you have to work with minimal pairs to have them recognize this. So this is basically what we did in TESL. I think the opportunity to teach was very valuable to us. Working with these children and practicing out these different methods, see how quickly they learn, how quickly they get tired, what you need to do to break it up and to keep discipline.
Hi, Mom, Dad, David, and everybody. First, I think I'll tell you that you're now, or will be during this tape, talking with 2 Peace Corps volunteers. We made it. I think maybe you're all sitting there saying, well, of course you made it. But believe me, we were really doubtful as to whether we would or not. And it gets really tense right before selection. They have a board. Well, they have a mid-board and a final board. No one was asked to leave after the mid-board. And then final boards, this Dr. Exner came in from the States, as he had done at mid-boards. He's in charge of all the training selection, and of all the selection and all the training programs. He has a final word on everybody, and he has to decide for every Peace Corps program whether the person is qualified to work. There's a panel that's made up of various people. We had an assessment officer with our district, Dr. Weiss, who teaches at Harvard, who Greg and I both think a great deal of. We had quite a few conversations with him.
He's a psychologist.
Yeah, he's a psychologist. And, I think the language plays a part, and everyone submits a report on you, and then they talk about it. And any one combination of things can keep you from being selected. In our particular case, there was a little concern because I had been sick, whether this would be a risk to me and to the Peace Corps to be here. And so we were really quite concerned, although we knew we would follow whatever decision that they made, but everyone in our group was selected. So everyone in the Marianas group, we were very, very pleased. There were 3 people deselected, which is very, very overall in all for everyone in this training program. There were 3 people deselected. One was a Truk trainee, one was a YAP trainee, and one was a Ponape trainee. In the first training group, I think they had 40 people deselected. So you can see there's quite a difference between 40 people and 3 people. The main reason for this difference is that 46 people in our program decided to leave on their own or after talking with people. This is one of the great advantages of this in-country program, in that people can really see and know whether or not this is for them. We were off-island, off Udot, teaching in a situation similar to exactly what we'll be doing. And people really learn whether or not they like teaching in this situation, whether or not they like children, whether or not they liked the environment here. We had a meeting of our whole group, and we were told that we had all been selected. And then that afternoon, we had a meeting with John Pinsetich, and what's John Pinsetich's title?
He's the head of the whole Peace Corps in the Asian area.
Yeah, he's head of Peace Corps in the Asian area, and Dr. Exner, who I've told you who he is. In which, Dr. Exner told us how he felt about this training program. Everyone seems to feel that this is possibly the best training program the Peace Corps has ever had. We've had many people say this, and that we are, without question, the best qualified group that's been sent into Micronesia. And of course it is the first in-country training program. And I think we feel the same way too, that there have been problems. There have been things that have gone wrong. We've had a great many opportunities in the past couple of weeks to tell people what we have thought was the matter, what could be changed, because on the 11th, a new group is coming out here. They will be training to work in agriculture, basically. And they want to change the program in certain ways for them. So the man who's in charge of all the training programs came out from Washington, and he came out specifically to have a meeting with each group and find out what should be different in the next program, how this had worked out. So anyway, Dr. Exner talked to us, and then he gave us a chance to ask questions. And believe me, all the questions got asked about just about a great many things. Everybody was just about to become a volunteer. There were no questions held back. Dr. Exner's quite a man. You figure he has a great big responsibility that he has to personally approve each person in the Peace Corps. And if something goes wrong, he's the one that's responsible. But he's got a marvelous sense of humor, and came out with some really choice comments. I can't remember any right now. Greg, can you remember any of the things he said, particularly?
I can't remember anything right offhand, but his nickname is the Hatchet Man, because although he isn't the only, there's several men in his position who go around finally selecting or overseeing selection of volunteers, and he's known as one of the strictest ones who will cut people out, if there's really any doubt of them being good volunteers, or them being able to survive the 2 years. But basically, I think he's very frank with people. He doesn't pull any punches or any strings. I think this is true with most of the people out here. They're very, very frank, and they tell you what's going on. And this is quite good.
Okay, well, it was a very interesting conversation. You might be interested in some of the things that were brought up. One thing was a lack of communication in ways. This is even just the fact that we had so many things to bring up. These hadn't been well, we're all spread over the island, and things hadn't gotten back to people, and that this had been a problem. Food was a basic problem the entire time we were here. not basically, they had gotten a reefer in here, like a large freezing unit to freeze fish and vegetables or whatever, not vegetables I guess, but fish. And the generator was broken for most of the time we were here. So we weren't able to have any fresh food, and there was a problem with breadfruit being in season and various things, and so we just had to live out of cans, and this was very hard. So food was a problem. I don't know what other things were brought up, just generally about what we were told before we came, this idea you can buy everything out here, which is just absolutely false. You just can't buy everything out here. For example, the only place in the Trust Territory that books are sold is in Moen. I mean, we can't buy a book in Saipan, evidently. We do have our book lockers, which will have 300 books whenever we get them, when we get there. I don't know, enough of that. After this discussion, we had John Pinsetich talk to us about the seriousness of being a volunteer, that there was still time if we didn't want to be one to leave. And then we were sworn in. We all just stood outside in rows by our districts and repeated an oath, just saying we would, uphold the Constitution and that sort of thing. And then John Pinsetich shook our hand, each hand, and knew just about everybody's name, which is quite a feat if you think. They really, they may never have seen you, but they study your pictures before you come and everything. Anyway, then we went over to get our money, our checkbooks. They open a checking account for us, and then our money is deposited in our checking account. And in our checking accounts right now, Greg has one and I have one, we each have $150 deposited as a settling in allowance, and we have $80 deposited as our first month's pay. $90. $90
allowance and $10 for rent.
And we have clothing allowance of how much, Greg?
$75.
Clothing allowance is $75. Anyway, the whole thing adds up to, between the two of us,
$680.
Yeah. So we're feeling much more wealthy than we thought we would be feeling. So then we got our checkbooks, and then that night we had a language tournament and a picnic. This was a big day. The truckies have given, when the High Commissioner was here, and I'll go back and tell you about the High Commissioner a little later, as I haven't, I'm sure, mentioned it. They gave a feast. When we arrived, they gave a feast, and we watched them killing some pigs, and they roast the pigs, and we have breadfruit and pig, and bananas, and pineapple, melon, and that's basically, maybe some, no, we never had chicken, fish. And this is spread out, and the women weave plates, I guess you could call them, out of the coconut fronds. And so we decided to give them an American feast and our party, and we always eat first too. So we decided to have one for them. And each group undertook a part of this. The Marianas was in charge of making the salad and the hot dogs, and we made a potato salad out of breadfruit, which really tasted like potato salad. You can do everything with breadfruit that you can do with potatoes, except breadfruit's a little more porous. It gets very mushy easily. That might give you an idea of something about what breadfruit can do. And I hate to say it, potatoes have more taste than breadfruit.
Very bland.
I mean, you think of eating a raw potato and think of how much taste that has, and then consider that breadfruit has less taste, except when it's ripe and it tastes a little bit like a banana then. Anyway, we worked all afternoon on this, and it went very well. A lot of truckies came, and they had hot dogs and punch and cucumbers and salad and
peanut butter sandwiches.
Tuna fish sandwiches, yes. Spam
sandwiches. My goodness.
And it was really a lot of fun. Our family came, and they got to eat first, and then after that we had this language tournament thing, which each group had made sort of a musical or something of this nature in the language that they were studying. It was a first and second prize. The Marshalls group won the first prize, and the Ponape group won the second prize. the Marshals group did a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was just fantastic. The kids were really good, and they changed it. I mean, instead of a poison apple, it was a poison ring of flowers, and it was set in kind of a Micronesian setting, and it was really good. There were ghosts. The Micronesians believe in ghosts, and deep down they really do. So, and then the Bonabay group had a kind of moral play, Legend, which they did a fantastic job with. It was really great. Our group, Marianas, did some sort of the history of the Marianas with the different culture groups that have come in. The early Micronesians, the early Saipanese, the Germans, Japanese, Spanish, Americans, and we did dances for each group that had come in and sang a song. Greg learned the stick dance, and I learned a coconut dance, and we did these. It was okay. We hadn't learned our songs well enough, and it could have been better, but we'd been off island the week before and hadn't had much chance to practice. I think I'd like to mention here, I know, Mummy, that you've been bringing up this question of should the Peace Corps be in Micronesia. I think Greg and I are just beginning to feel some sort of satisfaction in having come in an answer that works for us. You have this first shock that this is the United States government that's running things here, and that we're agents of the United States. I'm not really sure when we joined the Peace Corps that we really thought of ourselves as ambassadors, or really thought about, what the Peace Corps did for the United States. I mean, the idea that obviously Congress and everybody wouldn't have the Peace Corps unless we were representing the United States in some ways and had some sort of purpose other than this pure humanitarian purpose of helping other people. I think we're just beginning to get this clear in our minds. The idea of whether the United States should be in Micronesia is a very big question. I think if objectively, Greg and I feel that, I don't know, we can talk about this, but that Japan objectively is the area to be with Micronesia. They can trade with, they trade a great deal with Japan now, and
Japan's much closer. Plus, a lot of the goods from Japan are cheaper. In other words, when Saipan, the Japanese beer that comes in, is cheaper than the American beer, and people seem to like it quite well. Various things, and of course, there goes my mind on beer, but
no, but everything here is Japanese that you buy, just about.
Yeah, quite a few of the materials that you get. There's quite a few. Well, a lot of our corned beef comes from Argentina that we get. We've had. The rice comes from Australia. A lot of beef comes from Australia and so forth. We are looking forward to the Marianas. They're supposed to have quite a stock of beef up there. It's supposed to be pretty good. It's a new thing they've brought in, trying to develop their
this is just on
economically and so forth.
But anyway, back to this idea. So, whether or not the United States should be in Micronesia is a vast question that we couldn't, the war ended and we had it. The idea of it being evidently a military trusteeship and not a possession came about because the UN was just being formed and they wanted to follow the decision of the UN as a type of support for the UN. Sometimes I feel it'd be better just to have it be a possession. This military trusteeship is very strange, and no one knows what Micronesia is going to do next, and so it's very hard to invest in it. No one else is allowed to come in, no outside capital, and all this is changing.
Well, you can invest in it, but the thing is, they're going to have a plebiscite in a few years to decide. In other words, under this thing, they're eventually supposed to be given to decide their own destiny, whether they want to become independent, become part of the United States, whatever they want to do. But as it is now, even though it is a trusteeship under the United Nations, the United States, strategically, militarily, can do almost anything it wants here. If it wants to come to the Marianas, bring in 30,000 troops and make a base, it can do it, and the United Nations can't do anything about it. And this is one of the reasons that a lot more attention is being focused on Micronesia now, and I think you'll find in the Congress now, a lot of congressmen are finding out where Micronesia is, what Micronesia is, who's here, what the hell is going on.
Now that training is ending, a great many people are trying to get home or get back to wherever they came from. And this has caused a great many problems because there are only 4 airplanes, Greg?
No, well, she's speaking about staff now, people who were here.
Everybody who's here. Well, not the Micronesians, but all the
Yeah.
trainees and staff. On the flight that there was a flight that left on Saturday, and there were 87 people who wanted to get on that flight.
No, this was a Tuesday flight.
Tuesday flight. Well, that doesn't make a difference to them. Anyway, 5 people were able to get on it. And this happened to be Dr. Weiss and his wife and Dr. Exner, who had commitments to make, and another couple, I don't know who, and everyone else was bumped off the flight. Mrs. Emmett, who's our TESL coordinator, who was supposed to be back a week ago in Saipan to head up instruction on how to teach Tate, which we've been learning, is not able to leave. John Pinsetich, director of, the Asian area, was not able to leave, and they're still here and still trying to leave.
DC-4, you see, it only has 55 seats on it, and this particular flight came from the Marshals, and this time there were almost about 50 people already on the plane, so they just couldn't get anybody on.
And this might give you an idea of some of the problems just getting around here. You may think you've got a ticket and a flight reservation, but if someone else comes on who's more important, you're off and they're on. It's done purely by priority. The couple that was teaching us physical education missed their boat to their island. They were going to go to an island in the Marshalls, right, Greg?
Right.
And they had to go to the district center and then get a boat, and they missed it, and they have to wait 4 months for the next boat. So they're just, they're going to stay here for the next training program. They might as well, because it's a 4 months wait until the next boat goes. It's just a different world as far as the idea of transportation. Even the 3 people that were deselected, it's Peace Corps policy to have anyone who's deselected out within an hour. But, they just couldn't get them on the plane, so they're still here, and which is sort of sad, but there's just nothing that can be done about it, because there are a great many people who still do not have any idea of when they're leaving. We're leaving Friday, we're on a chartered flight, but still, if there is some real reason why other people have to go, we could be taken off the flight.
Get bumped, yeah.
We left Udot. We took our baggage to the dock the day before we left, and then the day we left we took just what we were going to be allowed to carry onto the plane. The night before we left, the family next door made a party for us. There were only the 2 of us in the house because everyone else was no longer living there, and they worked all day cooking, and they brought in plates full of turtle, 1 plate with turtle on it, 1 plate with fish on it, 1 plate with breadfruit, and breadfruit with coconut milk on it. We'd had a party and given them breadfruit salad, which is very like potato salad, and they tried to make that for us since they knew we liked it. They had great big pineapple. They had chicken. They'd killed one of the chickens and fried it for us. They had ice. They got an ice from a contract teacher's house because they knew we liked it, and soda. And it was just, and of course rice. Just an amazing amount of food. We ate sitting on the floor, and they came and ate with us. And we had a lot of fun. It was really very nice. We were very sad to leave. One of the women made fans for us to bring with us, 1 for Greg and 1 for me, and 1 to give to a friend. And we wish we had sent them home to you. Of course, by then it was too late. We just stuck them in our suitcases because we were leaving the next morning, but they were taken by customs officers when we came through customs. But I know how to make them, and hopefully I'll be making some more if I get around to it. So it was a really nice party, and we were really sort of sad to leave. And we went down the next morning to catch our boat, which was supposed to leave at 8, but it didn't come to 9:30, so it was a long time sitting around. They made beautiful flower leis for us, and we wore 2 for Greg and 2 for me, and we wore those. We took the M boat to Moen, and we were supposed to leave about 15 minutes after we got there, except that there was something the matter with one of the engines on the airplane, and they were working on fixing it. It was also a problem in that we'd been each allowed one carry-on, the size to fit under the seat, and most people had jammed this full as much weight as possible, and some people had more than this, so they were afraid we had too much weight, and they were going to have to take luggage off the plane and not allow carry-ons and all sorts of things. We had packed everything that we absolutely needed to live on in this one small white bag that we were given in San Francisco, because we didn't know we just couldn't be confident that our luggage would arrive with us. And we still don't have all our luggage, so we were very correct in not being confident of this. Anyway, finally our plane got off in the early afternoon, and we flew to Guam. We arrived in Guam, and it was later in the afternoon. It took about 3 hours to get there, and we couldn't go on to Saipan because there are no lights on the landing field, and we couldn't land in the dark with no lights. So we had to stay in Guam overnight, and we hadn't expected to. And of course there was no place to stay, and it was Labor Day weekend. We left on was it a Friday, Greg? Or Saturday?
It was, we left Truk on Friday.
Left Truk on a Friday, the Labor Day weekend Friday. And, but we all arrived in the airport. I think there were 56 of us on the plane. And our richest man in Guam, who owns a great many things and owns a hotel, happened to be there. And he had a new section to the Cliff House, which is what he owns, that had never been slept in, never been used, just about to open. And because it was new and not quite all ready, for some reason, there were no reservations for it. So he let us stay there at no cost. And they took us up there in a bus, and there were 8 rooms, and so we sort of split up the rooms. There were 8 of us in our room, four couples, and it was, I suppose, to you it would be just an ordinary motel room, motel room, but to us it was absolute luxury. There was carpeting on the floor, there were 2 beds, there was a shower and a real bathroom, and chairs, and we really felt silly because we were so excited. It was a real switch from what we'd been used to, and we all just sort of bounced on the bed and sat on the carpet and sat in the chairs and used. It
was amazing. You would have thought we were some kind of nuts.
And so we stayed there. We took showers. A hot shower was that's one thing that you can really appreciate, having a hot shower. You just don't. You never realize how much how nice it is, or a bath. We got all settled, and by the time we got settled, it was about 8:30 or 9, and there happened to be a restaurant near here, and a real restaurant.
The swankiest place on Guam. It's called the Red Carpet.
Yeah, and it would be swanky in the States. It had great big leather upholstered chairs, overlooked the city of Guam, and we had steak and baked potatoes and peas and wine with our meal, and just sat there, and bread and butter. This was very exciting, butter. And we just sat there and just enjoyed it. Dinner was $5, I guess, for something, $4.75. And we just felt like we could afford the splurge. We were just celebrating everything there was to celebrate. We were very pleased to have made it and have selection over with, and it was just great. And we ended up going to bed, I guess, fairly late. We stayed. 2 couples slept in sort of the living room part of this, and then 2 couples slept in the bedroom part. And it really worked out very well. We had a great time.